recurrence that needed facilities, salary arrears going back. There were 181 arrears. This has been occasioned by the dwindling allocation and the erratic donor support. The dispensaries health centers receive funds from three sources: own source revenue from formerly NHF and the now share county margin fund for Daninda project and Daninda donor funding. These funds are based on facility workload. As such, the basic health facilities receive adequate funds and have no arrears in payment of cashiers. B. What actions at the department taken to have the cashiers paid in the short term? The executive committee member reported that the department had processed Kenya shillings 11,659,380 towards payment of arrears. Further, the department had processed Kenya shillings 12,636,000 from County Daninda margin funds. Both payments were in the requisition that had been forwarded for approval to the controller of budget. C. In the long term, what plans had the department put in place to ensure that the cashiers were paid their wages in time and that the issue of delayed payment that does not reoccur? And the executive committee member indicated that to prevent the recurrence of the cash or arrears problem, the department has put in place a specific fault line in the financial year 24-25 budget on rural health facilities, financing with an allocation of Kenya shillings 31,461,990. When were the cashiers going to be paid? The executive committee member affirmed that the payments will be done as soon as the county receives the funds upon approval by the controller of budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Request of the statement. Any member? Member for Kabonzoni? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am in receipt of the response. And the response is contradicting what is on the ground, Mr. Speaker, because what is on the ground is that Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm saying I'm in receipt of the response, but Mr. Speaker, what is on the ground is very different from this report. Mr. Speaker, first of all, when I requested this statement sometimes in November 2024, the cash shows arrears were from the month of February. What is on the ground is that the cash flow, when we raised this statement, they were paid up to July 2024, their salaries. Mr. Speaker, my concern is on my question C, whereby the department has responded, or rather the chairman committee has responded that in this financial year 2024-2025, they have a budget on rural health facilities financing with an allocation of Kenya shillings 31 million. Now my question.
Honorable Maneno.
Yes.
Let me save you time.
Yes.
The response we are referring to, the chairperson is reading to us, is dated
Yes.
9th of December.
Yes.
So we are in which month? We are in February. March.
Yes.
What is the status today?
The status today, one, is that the cashiers have not been paid to date. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, they are saying they have a budget of that 1 million. Then if they have a budget of that 1 million for this financial year, current financial year, why have they not paid them? Those are my two questions.
Chairperson, you are aware?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know there's no vacuum even when I was away for 1 week, but I've just had an opportunity to consult with the ECM Health. It's assuring me that they paid up to 31st December 2024, and the remaining money is at the finance level being finalized. So I was just able to consult as we were doing that. If there is any contradictory, honorable member, on that, I can clarify that and bring the full report tomorrow morning.
Honorable Chair, I think the health team, you admit this paper on the floor of the House. Your response, as at 24th of February, is completely different from the letter by the Executive Committee member dated 5th of February. The letter, the response by Executive Committee member 9th of December, has informed your report dated 24th of February. Nevertheless, in between, on 5th of February, the Executive Committee member responded as follows. I'm afraid that that is not part of our report, which is dated 24th, when this letter from Executive reads 5th. We refer to your letter dated this on 15th of January, requesting for information current status of payment of cashiers, construction of Bond Isolation Hospital, operations, the ongoing patient block. 1. Payment of cashiers, that 11,659,380 Kenyan shillings was processed and paid off to workers to cover till July 31st, 2024. We are in the process of finalizing release of the NIDA funds as mentioned. This will bring the wages payment to date. So is that same as your response? Where does that leave us? Now, when an executive committee member says, honorable members, we are in the process, this is in February, on a question asked in December. And he has confirmed that they paid up to 31st of July. That 1st of July, 2024. So there is August, September, October, November, December. 5 months is when a statement is responded by the executive committee member. And by 5th of February indicates that we are in process of finalizing the release of the NIDA funds. As mentioned, this will bring the wage payment to date. To date is 5th of February. Now, those workers, Honorable Maneno, have not been paid. So for them to come to you, they can't address the minister, neither the clinical officer in charge. Now, we refer that matter to the chairperson committee on health, whose responsibility is to exercise oversight over the innocent workers and to give them a date when they will be paid, because they have children to take to school, they have needs that they need to care, they have basic needs and other form of needs. But what, chairperson, you are telling us is this, honestly and fairly. We are in the process of finalizing the release of the NIDA funds, as mentioned. This will bring the wages payment to date. In your report, you have given another interesting response, which says, the executive committee member affirmed that the payment will be done as soon as county receive funds upon approval of the control of budget. We receive funds for the month of July. We receive funds for the month of August, for September, for October, for November, for December, and for January, I think. I can be corrected. But up to December, I know that county of Makueni has been released, is receiving the monthly disbursement. So is it that the control of budget has not approved, or it is that the payment of the wages of healthcare workers has not been a priority for the last 6 months? I don't understand. Because it means that there's a control of budget down. Chairperson, can I write to the control of budget today and ask why she has not approved this? Because she has been blamed for sitting on Makueni requisition on healthcare workers. She's unanswered. Clerk, do I direct you to do so? Attach this response, highlight, and request the control of budget to confirm why ordinary citizens are suffering. Ashmiwa, assume the citizens are watching now from your dispensaries. Chairperson.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with what you've said, and I've just requested you, I handle it by morning. I'll be having a concrete answer clear on that. The executive committee man will have to commit himself to the real status of the issue. If there's any differences, I'll bring it here and I'll table to that. I've committed myself to that. Mr. Speaker, you know I'm serious on that. Thank you.
Honorable members have the following directions to make: that wages are basic rights guaranteed under the Constitution. Services have been rendered, we have not been able to compensate. That is unconstitutional, breach of human rights. And therefore, clerk, I direct that you write to the executive committee member for health, for finance, and copy to the governor to explain to this house why and when why there has been an occasioned, a substantive explanation on the delay ranging from August, September, October, November, December. There's no response to this matter. And two, when this will be done. And number three, what measures they are put in place that this will not recur again. Clerk, that letter to reach the executive committee member before 4 p.m. today, 3rd of March, year 2023. By hand delivery, with an advance email. And a received copy to be filed with me before we adjourn. Chairperson, then you will be ready to respond to us that time, if time allows. Next is Chairperson Committee on Infrastructure to respond to a statement regarding impassable status of Kivani Road, including what? Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Speaker, the committee has been engaging the ECM infrastructure, and the response that the committee got recently was not satisfactory, because, Mr. Speaker, there's an item about feasibility study that did not come out clearly on the report from the ECM. So the committee has written back to the ECM demanding to be given a response on the feasibility study item and the budgetary requirement for the same. Mr. Speaker, so that we can be able to table the report. So we request for 7 days. Thank you.
Member for Klongod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I fully agree to what the Honorable Muleba said, and within 37 days, I think I need a concrete answer without further delays. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Chairperson Committee on Transport. Respond to a statement regarding Ngulai Magazia Dispensary, Kinge, Kualole, Thithi, Kami with us, Bulutini Dispensary, Gangani Road in Kumasumba Ward. Honorable members, that is deferred. The member is not in. On the second occasion, the response will be laid. These are the directions. Chairperson Committee on Water Irrigation and Sanitation to give a response to a statement regarding non-implementation of Kitei Iyan Borehole project in Kathonzweni Ward. Chairperson Committee on Water. You have two. The next is still Kathonzweni. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order number 53 of the Makueni County Assembly, Standing Orders, I am embarrassed to give a response to the statement regarding the non-implementation of Kitei Yani Borehole in Kathonzweni Ward, as was requested on Monday, 25th November 2024 by Honorable Benedict Maneno, MCA for Kathonzweni Ward. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the year 2022-2023, 3.5 million was allocated for drilling and equipping of Kitei Iyan borehole. The borehole was meant to alleviate the acute water shortages in Kitei Iyan areas and environments. However, to date, the implementation of the project has not commenced, and there are no indications of plans to commence it. The Speaker, sir, surprisingly, the financial reports indicate that the allocated funds have been exhaustively spent, leaving a meager balance of 980 shillings, yet no works have been done and the residents have not been provided with water. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the statement, the member requested for the clarification of the following issues: whether the department is aware of the above projects and why the borehole has not been drilled, equipped as was planned and budgeted, despite funds being made available over 2 years ago. Whether the funds allocated to the project have been spent. If yes, how much has been spent and on what activities? And that is, we provide a breakdown of the expenditure clearly showing the activity, the cost each such activity, and the cost of each activity, the dates of the activity and the payment of the activity, the receipt of each payment and the supporting documents for each payment made, and the plans the department has in place to implement the project and when it is expected to be completed. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee sought for the above information from the ECM Water Irrigation and Sanitation, filed a letter referenced as shown in that particular report, that is on 25th November 2024, and to which it was responded, filed a letter referenced as shown, dated 3rd December 2024. Annexed number 1. The response was as follows. Question 1, whether the department is aware of the above project. Yes, the Department of Water, Irrigation and Sanitation is aware of this project, which was funded in the year 2022-2023 under the name Kitei Mutini Water Project, into brackets construction of storage tank, cleaning reservoir tank, and a pipeline extension to the tune of 3.5 million Kenya shillings. Question 2, why the borehole has not been drilled and equipped as was planned and budgeted, despite funds being made available over 2 years ago. The borehole was actually drilled as planned as follows. A Iyan borehole was drilled to a depth of 200 meters deep, developed and tested pumped. The borehole yield was 0.6 meter cubed, and this was to be equipped at point source, but the area MCA requested for another bore, citing low yield from their first borehole. This is annexed as attached in the survey report for Kitei Iyan borehole. Another hydrological survey was done in the name of Kitei Mutini. A cabinet paper was done and approved. The bore was drilled to a depth of 260 meters, but turned out dry, hence not developed, as annexed part 3, attached to this survey. Question 3, drilling materials. Diesel for drilling and the staff allowances were paid. Question 3, whether the funds allocated to the project have been spent. If yes, how much has been spent and on what activities? We also to provide breakdown for the expenditure clearly showing the activity and the cost of each such activity, the dates of the activity and the payment for the activity, the receipt of each payment, and the supporting documents for each payment made. The breakdown of the expenditure is as follows. Payment for fuel and the staff allowances for Iyan borehole was totaling to 663,000. Supply and the delivery of bore drilling materials for Iyan borehole, 956,000 shillings. Diesel for test pumping Iyan borehole at 36,000 shillings. Facilitation for test pumping operators for Iyan borehole at the cost of 151,200. Facilitation for test pumping operators for Kadhamboni borehole, Kenya shillings 144,900. Diesel for test pumping of Kadhamboni borehole at 36,000 shillings. And drilling of Kitei Mutini borehole. Fuel borehole material and staff allowances amounting to 1.5 million, 11,920. Total budget allocated was 3.5 million, and total expenditure was 3.490 and 20 shillings. That's a balance of 980 Kenyan shillings. Materials for the borehole development for Kitei Mutini Steel in stores since and dry borehole was struck. Question 4. The plans the department has in place to implement the project and when it is expected to be completed. As highlighted above, funds for this project have been exhausted, and unless more funds are filled for purchase of fuel and operators facilitation, it may not be possible to carry out an activity in this project. However, the unused or development materials are available in the store and are available when it is possible to drill another borehole. Mr. Speaker, sir, upon consideration of the response by the committee, we established that the response was not satisfactory. Therefore, the committee resolved to invite the ECM for water to a consultative meeting on Tuesday, 21st January 2025, in which he was expected to respond on the following contentious issues. Number 1 was whether hydrological surveys are carried out before drilling the boreholes. 2, if the surveys are carried out, and how reliable is the technology used in the surveys. 3, whether the works are carried out to the specifications as per the surveys. And 4, measures taken to ensure the community gets water supply even after the failed borehole projects. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the consultative meeting in which the honorable member for Kadhonzweni Ward was present, the ECM responded to the committee and further submitted additional information as follows. On question 1, whether hydrological surveys are carried out before drilling the boreholes, the ECM responded that all boreholes that have been drilled in Makueni County are subjected to hydrological surveys before drilling, as annexed in Part 2 and Part 3 in this report for Kitei, Iyan, and Kitei Mutini boreholes with both evidence. Question 2, if the surveys are carried out and how reliable is the technology used in the surveys? The ECM responded that the surveys are always carried out before the recommendations, and the technology used is reliably provided that it directs the surveyor to the faults and the fractures through which groundwater flows. During the consultative meeting, the groundwater surveyor raised concern on the need to have a refresher course on the operation of the newly purchased survey machine, and the committee did support the idea, after which the ECM was to report back to the committee. In response, the ECM has reported that a refresher course on-site training has since been conducted with the machine supplier as agreed. The survey team started the refresher training on 27th January 2025 to 30th January 2025. Further, 4 sites, namely Makutano in Kadhonzweni Ward, Mayan in Muka Ward, Shumbe in Kisau, Kisau Kiteta Ward, and the Ukian Girls in Ukia Ward were surveyed. Summary survey reports for the collected survey data during the refresher course for the 4 surveyed sites are herewith attached. That was actually approved as he had commissioned that is going to do that. Throughout the refresher course on the above proposed borehole sites, the officers learned how to operate and use the newly purchased River G survey machine. After confirming the Ukia Girls Secondary School borehole site, the borehole was drilled and the expected yield is estimated at 6 meter cubed per hour. The surveyor is now conversant with the operations of the new machine after the refresher training. Question 3 was whether the works are carried out to the specifications as per the surveys. The ECM responded that all the drilling specifications recommended by the groundwater surveyor are followed to the latter, and they even gone beyond the recommended depth to give the community the best, the very best. Question 4 was measures taken to ensure the community gets water supply even after the failed bore projects. The ECM responded that the department not normally do a replacement bore or sand dams, other dams, and the rock catchment to make sure that the community gets sufficient water. Mr. Speaker, sir, further, the Department of Water, Irrigation and Sanitation agreed with the MCA for Kadonzweni Ward that the department will equip Kitei Iyanbo by end of April 2025, as this will solve the problem and the local community will get water. Mr. Speaker, sir, I hereby present the response regarding the non-implementation of the Kitei Iyanbo in Kadonzweni Ward for consideration by the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Member for Kadonzweni Ward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Also rise to appreciate the committee for job well done. I am satisfied with the engagements and the consultations that we have had with the committee and also with the department, with the ECM and CEO. We are great, and as he has put it, by end of April, I expect water. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Fair enough. To save us the 30 minutes, you should have just rose immediately when the chair stood and say that in honor of this house, the committee has done a good job and I'm satisfied. Fair enough. Chairperson, Committee on Water. Have responded to Kitei? Yes. On no. This is a response to statement regarding management of Kadonzweni Ward Participatory Poverty Eradication Program, Ward backhoe operations. Request of the statement, you are satisfied?
So in receipt of that statement, Mr. Speaker, Kadonzweni Ward Poverty Eradication Program, it is a very inspiring project to eradicate poverty in Kadonzweni Ward through excavation of the water pumps, the small dams, the communal dams in the area by use of the ward backhoe. Mr. Speaker, I am satisfied with the response. However, Mr. Speaker, there is a response that the department has indicated that they want to transfer this machinery to the Department of Agriculture, AMS. That has not been done, and also the timeline for that is not done. And according to myself and my people, is that AMS will be good to handle this machinery because also the work that they are doing, they are more experienced than Department of Water. But so, Honorable Speaker, that is only my concern on the time frame for the handing off of that project to the AMS. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Matter resolved or not, you will follow up on transfer to MS?
Mr. Speaker, that is not my work. I just need to be informed that the official handing over has been done.
Chairperson?
I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, we will wish to have our client, who happens to be the chair of finance, satisfied. So we are going to extend our service and the follow-up with the department so that when this is done, it's communicated to him.
Fair enough. You do so. Give you 14 days to satisfy the member. Chairperson, Committee on All Services, to give a response to a statement regarding status of implementation of County Assembly resolutions, appointment of Chief Officer for Health Services, Human Resource Management and Administration. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I have the statement here and the status of it, and the requester is not in. Bukaluna.
The statement is bigger than the member.
That's why I'm requesting for the.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I hereby rise to give a response to a statement requested by Justice Kalunda, member of Kombolo South Ward, regarding appointment of the Chief Officer.
Why don't you take us to where there's the actual meet?
Yes, the chairperson had to clarify on the status of implementation of the Assembly resolution on the approval of the nominee to the position of the Chief Officer, Health, Human Resource Management Administration. That is the point, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to clarify. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee considered the table and tabled its response in the House, into which it was deemed unsatisfactory and therefore directed to engage the appointee, the County Secretary of the Makueni County Public Service Board, and response on the status of implementation. The committee held a consultation meeting with the appointee and the County Secretary.
Just a minute, Chair.
Yeah.
Your response is dated 19th of November,
Yes.
2024. What you are responding to is
It's been overtaken by events.
not overtaken. There is further correspondence from CS and from the board on the same.
Is it health services have not been served with that?
Chairperson Committee on Devolution, you are aware? It's all done?
Yes,
Was it
Mr.
brought to your
Speaker.
attention?
Mr. Speaker, I think there are new development on that statement because the chief officer was sworn in, and Mr. Speaker, from where I sit, I learned that he was not given tools of power by the County Public Service Board. So we need to know where we are right now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, so that we get things right and not entangle ourselves in the things that may not. As earlier indicated, is that the constitutional oath of office is limited to in the context of the county government. The constitutional oath of office is limited to the governor, the deputy governor, speaker of the county assembly, members of the county assembly, clerk of the county assembly, and I'm not sure of the clerk. I'm not sure I may be reminded, and the members of the county executive committee, and the county attorney, who by extension is a member of the county executive committee. That is what is provided in this constitution as a requirement of oath of office. Because the state office says, the executive committee member, MCA, the speaker, governor, and deputy governor are state officers in the context of the county government. So then we don't confuse jargon and oath of office and whatever, as if it is, whether it was a requirement or not, let us drop that, if we want to be factual. However, should you hire officers, ward administrators, and nurses, and then Honorable Mbalu, you know, according to the standards of those, you can devise a oath of office for nurses or clinical officers or doctors as they assume office to proclaim the very whole that is in the Public Health Act or any other act that governs how they are managed, including accountants. Accountants have an act that I shall at all times adhere to accounting standards of Kenya, report morally and ABCD. But where there is a constitutional requirement, strictly speaking, it is for those officers. It is fair that we don't mix both. Now, Honorable Tivu, on oath, you're out of order. It is an administrative process. Yes, something else? Give us
Mr.
another
Speaker,
reason.
we know from the County Public Service Board you must be given delegated powers. So those are the tools I'm talking of.
Honorable Tibu, as far as I know, I acknowledge before this house out, I have received a copy of a gazette notice. The Assembly resolved and approved the nominee. The governor appointing authority by way of a gazette notice appointed. So the resolution of the county assembly was implemented to the person or the office that was directed. Who is His Excellency, the governor of Makueni County? By way of gazette notice, appointed one Dr. Avi Bidi to office as a chief officer. Now, what you are referring to, is it administrative? Because there are two things that should happen. One, what you are referring to, and delegated authority by head of the county treasury, which is authority to incur expense, which is called AIE order. Is it so, Malimu? Yes. What gives you to spend school fees? In school, not in your pocket. For school, not for you. You get it from where? From DEO? Please tell us.
Yeah, we get it from the DEO, president, according to the sub-county of education officers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the DEO is given that mandate by? the head of the Minister of Finance, National Treasury.
Yeah.
That's okay. Then it delegates further to aid teachers to incur expense.
Sure.
That has happened. And now what you're referring to. So let us confine ourselves to the administrative process after that, so that then we don't complicate. Now, Chairperson, if there are developments, Committee on Devolution, was that document referred to your office? No? No, if not so, then Chairperson Committee on Health Services, you look at that matter in view of the new correspondence between the Public Service Board addressed to the County Assembly and by the County Secretary to this County Assembly on the same matter. Because November was long time ago you overtaken. So how much time do you require? 1 week. Please consider that matter to conclusion. Deal with it. Chairperson Committee on Lands, Urban Planning and Development to give a response to a statement regarding report on the plot validation exercise conducted in Mali Old Town. Before then, Chairperson Committee on Lands, what happened to Thika? Not Thika, Konza Development, Land Use Development Plan? The statement is still hanging. I can't see it in the order paper. Who has it? Clerk? May you revive it? What happened, Chair? You want to bury it?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a court case, Mr. Speaker. The last time we were caught, we were invited by the authority of Konza Technopolis, together with the ECMs from the 3 counties. And the governors were also invited, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we were not able to agree, Mr. Speaker, and especially on Makueni and Machakos, Mr. Speaker, due to that pending case, Mr. Speaker, which our assembly is also accused in that case, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the responsibility was forwarded to the governor, the 3 governors, which will be coordinated by Council of Governors, Mr. Speaker, so that they can resolve the issue, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we are most likely to, because the deadline was 10th March, Mr. Speaker, so we are likely to maybe lose funds because of that stalemate, Mr. Speaker. So now it's something that is actually beyond us. The 3 governors are set to maybe resolve the matter, Mr. Speaker. That is.
I'm aware you are invited for a meeting at Naivasha.
Yes.
Chaired by the 3 county commissioners.
Yes.
Makueni, Machakos, and Kajiado.
Unfortunately, the 3 governors never attended. They never gave any apology.
But Honorable Member, the information that I have is that the governors were represented.
Okay, they never attended themselves. The
attorneys attended.
The ECMs from the 3 counties were invited, but they gave apologies to the governors, but they never attended.
But what do you want? Why should a governor attend a meeting chaired by a county commissioner when there is a person responsible for lands and account attorney? The 3 counties participated. Is that not the point?
Yes.
Of course, I didn't attend, so you did not expect the governor to attend.
So, Mr. Speaker, the discussion was that the matter should be actually sent to left for the 3 governors to be coordinated by the Council of Governors. That is, we left it at that point.
So, Chairperson, that meeting is intergovernmental relations issue, and Article 189. May we get feedback or report, because you are formally on that business together with the clerk of the county assembly and I think the respective committee clerk. May you then file that report with the respective committee and file to this house, then a progress report on that matter.
Yes, that can be done, Honorable Speaker.
How much time do you require?
We request 14 days.
Fair enough. Clerk, indicate that. Now, on the response regarding the report of plot validation exercise conducted in Mali Old Town, the request of the statement is not in-house. Deferred on the 2nd occasion. You have the response ready?
Yes.
On the 2nd occasion, who is the whip for that party? Any chapter member, a neighbor, clerk, notify that member that on the second occasion, which will be when? Tomorrow? That the statement will be dropped, or the response will be late. Next order. What is your point of order? What is the point of order, Honorable Mutua?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I raise on a point of order to request for a general statement.
Which order?
The standing order 47, subsection C, read together with the standing orders 50, subsection 3.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, this House adopted a report from the Committee on Gender and Sports during the second session, that is 2023, December, and made recommendations, Mr. Speaker, to the department. And Mr. Speaker, one of the recommendations was that the department shall deliver uniform and standardized guidelines and structures for conducting of league machinani across the county, including the formats and the budgeting, and also the awarding. That recommendation gave the department 30 days to report to this House, Mr. Speaker. The guidelines were not brought to this House up to today. Mr. Speaker, on 22nd and 23rd of this month, we will host the sub-count KISA games at the sub-count headquarters, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the recommendations, there was also another recommendation, that was recommendation number 3, that stated, the purpose of ease of oversight, the department should ensure that all league machinani tournaments are flagged off to start at the same time and end period is nearly close as possible. Mr. Speaker, that was not adhered, even after recommendations were made. Then, Mr. Speaker, the other recommendation was the recommendation number 8, that in the subsequent league machinani programs, the sporting equipment, such as the balls, boots, nets, beads, and the team uniforms are procured and delivered to the participating teams before the commencement of the league machinani games. This shall ensure meaningful participation of the teams and reduce the burden of purchasing this equipment as current should be by participating teams. Mr. Speaker, if you purchase uniforms and the balls, at the end of the exercise, you are not helping these teams, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, the recommendations were very clear that the budget for ward level should be spent at ward level. I'm aware that, Mr. Speaker, these games that will be hosted at, as I have indicated earlier, 22nd and 23rd, they are planning to use the ward budget to facilitate the teams and also to facilitate the activities like tents, Mr. Speaker, referees, security, and other administrative costs like paying the administrators, Mr. Speaker. That should not be the case. The county should have its own budget to facilitate at the sub-count level and also the ward, and also the county level. So we should not use the budget from the ward level. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Ilima Ward.
Speaker, sir, I concur with my honorable member from Betine because having also looked at the whole scenario, you find that the moment we open up the gap or the hole of people using our ward budget without any kind of proper set structures, that opens another quagmire of people entrenching into misuse of funds meant for different activities. In addition to that, who is going to oversight at the count level? I am entitled to oversight at my ward level. Who will be the key person to oversight at the count level, or at the sub-count level and also at the count level? Because this is very key. We are not just a house to sit down. We are here to ensure funds are used in the right way and there are no loopholes for people to misuse the funds. Point number 2. Mr. Speaker, sir, by the time we allocated and did the public participation for the use of the funds at the ward level, we were given the power to use by the people of the ward. Who is giving the power to go and use the money at the sub-county level? Who called the public participation to allocate that particular budget? Because all the money which we use is supposed to be actually going through a particular process which involves the people. Who is involved at the sub-county level? Who is doing the consultation of what the people need, or what the sports people need? We've never seen this public participation. And if it has been there, we would wish to see when it was actually advertised and where it was advertised. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there are things which we cannot do outside the law. That constitution is a binding factor. The Public Finance Management Act is also a binding factor. And all these things are outlined within these particular documents. Where are we borrowing a leave so that we can be able to go to make side shows and go away from what is set as structure for us to follow? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Elizabeth Muli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I knew it will come to this. Because the joke I saw around when we were doing the policy, I knew we will come, all of us singing the same song, and it has now begun. Honorable Speaker, when you say that ward councils that budgeted for money should now give some money to be spent at the sub-county, how are you telling the wards to behave? Honorable Speaker, it is difficult even for ward councils, because they had already made decisions on what to carry out with the budget that was allocated. And Honorable Speaker, you know that wards have not budgeted equal amounts. It's very difficult to say this percentage must go to this, because there are even wards that have not done uniforms. They have done only awards because they had lesser budgets than others. Now you want to force wards and the councils to have some money to carry as money for, I don't know, tents, PA system at the sub-county level. Why haven't the County Department of Sports made the budgets for the sub-county and county levels? Because you cannot force wards to budget for the activities at the sub-county and the activities at the county level. Honorable Speaker, if they knew this was an imaginary occasion that wards are to finance the sub-county level, then they should have told the councils, together with members of county assembly, when they were budgeting, and at the same time when they were giving public participation, so that members were aware that we will have a certain percentage leaving the ward to the sub-county. From where I sit, the member has only one issue, and that is what they factor, that when they are going to the sub-county, you must set aside the money for the all-stars. And that is what members are always keen to make sure is captured in that ward budget. And I know members have done that. Now for you to say at the sub-county level, we do not have tents, we do not have PA system, and this has to be factored by ward budgets, it's nonsense, Honorable Speaker. It is nonsense. The CEO and the ECM should have known after the ward budgets, there is a sub-county level which needs to be factored, and after that we have a super CAF at the county level that has also to be factored, and they need to have budget. It is worth saying that they do not want to spend from the headquarters. They just want to spend money for the wards. And this we are not going to allow. Let this money go to the young people of Makueni who participated in the wards, Honorable Speaker, and I stand with what Honorable Ben has said, that we cannot allow this. Let them know what they are going to do to manage the sub-county leagues and to manage the county finals. It is not our mandate. They did not tell us, and they did not bring before the Committee on Gender to tell them we will need money to manage the sub-county leagues and the county finals. If they had brought that before the committee, then we would be supporting them now. But if they do not bring it, let the burden not go back to the wards, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Nzawi, Klikalambot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just concur with my friends. Some emergency breaks need to be applied on this matter so that we can resolve it. Otherwise, I concur with the members just left the floor that we should not be misused. This is robbery without violence.
Member for Kathonzweni Ward.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, and I want to thank member for Mbitini.
You sound a little bit, your voice is higher than usual.
Sorry, I am, because, Mr. Speaker, I was in a council meeting, my ward sports council meeting over the weekend, and Mr. Speaker, that is when I learned that they have been instructed to surrender 30,000 shillings to the headquarters. Now, one of the committee members asked me, Mheshimiwa, so when we budget at the ward, we are also supposed to surrender again at a given time. So, Mr. Speaker, we can't allow this, Mr. Speaker. Super Cup has not started yesterday, it's not starting today, it's not starting tomorrow. It has been there. Mr. Speaker, let the youth money remain with them, and the headquarters do their work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Balu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really support the honorable member from Bitini on this. I disagree the manner in which they are handling this, because where the directives have been clearly spelled, I do not see how they can change and without consulting. That's assuming the body that is supposed to oversight. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is very clear. How do they change and do what we did not direct them to do, and they do not consult? It's like they do not understand what oversight is. And, Mr. Speaker, they must be stopped. They must be stopped, that no money will flow to that direction. And, Mr. Speaker, it must be done now. Let them go look for their budget and set their budget clear on that. Thank you.
Honorable Elizabeth Kawembe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also concur with Honorable Ben. Mr. Speaker, the 1 million which was allocated for youth in Movao Kikumene Ward, Mr. Speaker, should be used within Movao Kikumene Ward, Mr. Speaker, because it is me who will do the oversight for that money. Beyond ward level, that, Mr. Speaker, it is that money should be budgeted from headquarters. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we truly disagree with the department that our monies should not be used. Let them look for their own budget and do the sub-county and the headquarter Kisa Games. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson, Committee on Sports.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to applaud the members for bringing the joint general statement. It is unfortunate that members are trying to support sports for, amongst their youth in the ward, but the department is trying to curtail their efforts, because these are things that were not happening before, Mr. Speaker. And after members have seen the need to budget so that their youth are well taken care of before they get to the sub-county, someone is trying to eat into that. I do not agree with it. I think it is well stipulated in the regulations that are yet to be laid to this House. So we want to call upon the committee on ABC to slot so that we can bring the guidelines here. We are going to, because they are ready and they have been adopted, we can bring them as early as tomorrow so that members can see that we are not here to defend anybody. So if the department is doing that, then we are not here to sit in for them. Let them carry their cross. The teams from the wards are to be taken up by the department as from sub-county and Super Cup levels. So, Mr. Speaker, we regret that, but we hope that it can be corrected so that members are not discouraged from budgeting for those sports programs. Thank you.
Chairperson, how much time will you require to engage the executive committee member on the issues raised before you respond to this House? Because getting the mood and the concerns of the members, the answers are not with you. neither are they in the guidelines. And that is clear that members are objected to a certain way of doing things and proposing a different one. Honorable Kawembe, if you listen to her, without beating about the bush, she's saying that the allocation within our ward and its expenditure should be within Kigumeni Muvau ward, full stop. If there is anyone else who has an interest with his citizens outside Kigumeni Muvau, then he should apply another expenditure. Is that the case? Is that the case, Honorable Kawembe?
Mr. Speaker, I've said the 1 million allocation for the youth should be used within Muvau, Kikumene Ward, Mr. Speaker, for the teams within Muvau. Because, Mr. Speaker, I remember there was a time, I don't know whether it was Honorable Maneno, who brought statement here, and he said his money was used. It was used. Money for Kathonzweni Ward was used into Lemane Ward, Mr. Speaker. And to avoid that, all the monies from the 30 wards should be used within the wards. That is what I've said. Thank you.
Person, the clerk, these are the directions. That firstly, before I give directions, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is well captured in the guidelines. So the monies that every member allocates are not supposed to be used beyond the wards. From the sub-county, it becomes a department's team. So that is well indicated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the chair is misleading this House by saying that is very well captured in the guidelines that are not before the House, Mr. Speaker. That is their document. It's not our document. They have the document. We don't know what it's entailed in that document.
Point. You made a point. Chairperson.
Mr. Speaker, I have just said that we are waiting for the ABC to slot that business so that we bring those guidelines here. I am speaking from a point of knowledge because we are the committee that prepared the report. Thank you.
The guidelines have not been adopted by the House?
Yes.
Not yet?
Not yet.
But the guidelines provide for what Honorable Kawembe is referring to in simple
yes,
terms.
Mr. Speaker. Positive.
Honorable Member from Pitini, you are informed in advance. That's a point. But that being the case, Honorable Member, Chairperson Committee on sports with your Vice Chair, whom you nominated to present you at Uganda. So, and I can see he's still briefing you. But the brief is not important. The brief we want is from the wards, not from Uganda. But having said that, the directions are very simple. That having listened to the contributions by members, there is general concern. Honorable Muthike and all other members are very eloquent that their ward budget are limited to the budget and not of activities of sub-county. Because a sub-county expenditure, then that is an expenditure outside the ward. And therefore, members are concerned about that and aware of the development that have been confirmed by Honorable Maneno. Is that clerk, you communicate to the respective committee member, explain the concerns of members, and they have objected to that. Chairperson engage the respective executive committee member, convey that communication and the position of the House and file a report here on when? On Wednesday at 2:30. On Wednesday at 2:30. There are no honorable members have ruled with reasons. One, have ruled there are no sports that are taking place between tomorrow and Wednesday. And older, you don't expect to invite the executive committee member tomorrow and file a report tomorrow. Let us be a little bit reasonable. And I know there are other engagements, there are other reports. What is important is that you have a decision taken on this particular matter and a report reflecting the wishes of the members on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. And that statement will be the first one to be addressed in the order paper. Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, we are aware that they are planning to wire this money to the teams by either tomorrow or even today. Can they order to wire all the money after they make final decision? Because they can't wire in bits. We want all our money to be wired to the ward level.
So they want to wire to who? Okay, there seems to be people who are you council members?
Mr. Speaker, we are aware from the forums, they have requested all teams to submit their details by close of business today, so that by tomorrow they can start wiring the money to the captains and the teams. So, Mr. Speaker.
So what is your plea?
My plea was you direct that they give the report tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning.
Honorable members, before I give directions, I want to know, do we have quorum? Do we have quorum? Clerk, do you have a quorum? Just a minute. I have a reason as to why. Hold on. I have a reason as to why I want to do so. Clerk, do you have quorum? Can you count? $19. Honorable members, I now put the question. Will as many as of the opinion that the activities on disbursement of funds to the wards be stopped forthwith until matter is determined by the committee, say aye. Aye. Will as many as of our contributors say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, that is a procedural matter. It's not a substantive motion. It's a procedural matter to determine whether the majority of members are in support of the direction that the Speaker was to make. And therefore, Chairperson, you are directed by the resolve of the County Assembly to advise the Executive Committee member within the shortest time possible, first, to halt the processes, two, engage the respective committee, that is your committee, and iron out the issues raised by members before implementation of the programs as planned. Now, why did you want us to debate? I wanted your vote to be part of stopping. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. The report of the County Public Accounts Committee on consideration of the report of the Auditor General on Makueni County Sanitary Conservation and Utilization Authority for the year ended 30th of June 2023.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that this Assembly adopts the report of a committee, County Public Accounts Committee on the consideration of the report of the Auditor General on Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority for the year ended 30th June 2023, laid on the table of the Assembly on 25th November 2024. Honorable Speaker, the Auditor General, having audited the financial statements of Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority for the year ended 30th June 2023, gave a qualified opinion. The committee interrogated and sought evidence of the management based on the following key findings of the Auditor General. The basis for the qualified opinion were 1, unconfirmed use of goods and services expenditure, 2, unsupported revenue collection streams, 3, unconfirmed ownership of assets. Then there was an emphasis of matter, the budgetary control and performances. Other matter was unresolved prior year matters. And then on report on lawfulness and effectiveness in the use of public resources, there was 1, non-compliance with funding requirements, 2, non-compliance with revenue sharing requirements. And Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the report and engaged the following officers on September 26, 2024, for further clarification on the audit issues raised. 1, the committee engaged the representative of the Auditor General to interrogate the report of the committee, and 2, invited the accounting officer / witnesses to appear before the committee to provide evidence regarding the report. The committee general observations and findings, Honorable Speaker, was that One, the management failed to provide detailed analysis of the revenue streams during audit verification, contrary to Section 62(1)(c) of the Public Audit Act 2015, which states that a person shall not, without justification, fail to provide information within reasonable time that is required under the Act. Further, the revenue streams of cess, fines, and penalties were not clearly defined in the system. Two, the vehicles to the authority were initially registered at the county government despite it or the authority being the procurement entity, thus contravening Regulation 134(1) of the Public Finance Management of County Governments Regulations 2015, which provides that when assets or liabilities of a government entity are transferred to another government entity or other institution in terms of legislation or following a reorganization of government functions, the accounting officer for the transferring county government entity shall be required to identify an inventory of such assets and liabilities and provide to the accounting officer for the receiving government entity and other institution with necessary records, including human resource records of staff, to be transferred. Three, the management had not resolved the prior year issues or given any explanation for failure to adhere to the provisions of the financial reporting template issued by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Four, the authority was allocated 0.7% of the county budget contrary to the Section 10(3)(a) of Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Act 2015, which provides that the funds of the authority shall consist of 2.25% of the county annual budget appropriated by the county assembly. Five, the management did not share revenue raised from the sale of the sand with water users associations and the community as required by Section 35(1)(c) and D of Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Act 2015, which states that revenue raised from the sale of sand shall be shared in the following proportion. 5% shall go to the water users associations for conservation and operations, and 10% shall go to the community. Committee general recommendations, Honorable Speaker, include one, the accounting officer should engage the system administrator for inclusion of all the ledgers, that is the revenue streams, into the system within 60 days after the adoption of this report, and always avail information during audit verification as provided for under Section 62(1)(c) of the Public Audit Act 2015. Two, the management should always ensure compliance with Regulation 134(1) of the Public Finance Management, County Governments Regulation 2015, by ensuring that all assets are registered under the authority. Further, progress on the transfer of assets and updated asset inventory should be reported to this committee within 60 days after the adoption of this report. Three, the management should comply with the provisions of the financial reporting template issued by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board and report progress on the implementation of the prior year matters within 60 days after the adoption of the report. Four, the head of the county treasury should adhere to Section 10(3)(a) of the Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Act 2015, failure to which measures should be taken as provided for under the provisions of Section 74 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. And five, the accounting officer should provide the proposed amendments to the county assembly. The proposed amendments to the Sand Conservation and Utilization Act to the county assembly for approval within 60 days after the adoption of this report. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the Committee of County Public Accounts, I thank the officers of the Speaker and the Clerk of the County Assembly for facilitating the committee during the consideration of this report. I also want to acknowledge the effort of the members of the committee towards discharging their mandate effectively while coming up with this report. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of this committee, I now present this report to the Assembly for adoption, and you will allow me to call the member for Mitini to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the report. And Mr. Speaker, as I second, make a few recommendations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know this county, we have been projecting a revenue target that we have not been achieving, Mr. Speaker, like the target of 1.4 B, and we collect like 1 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we found that they have a system that was not divining their revenue systems, Mr. Speaker. Like if you ignore to divine the cess, that is the main revenue stream for the authority, Mr. Speaker. Although the authority was not made for revenue collections, it was made for conservation, Mr. Speaker. But the small revenue collected should be well defined from which source. If it is a cess or it is a licensing, it should be very well reported. Also, Mr. Speaker, the policy on the sharing of the revenue to the community and the government, Mr. Speaker, they should fast track that policies, because in my ward, people have been asking why should it be 5% and the other goes to the government. And I understand they are bringing a very good policy that will be giving the community like 60 or 65%. So they should fast track that policy so that we can implement it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that is assembled of the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the consideration of the report of the retired General Makueni County Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority, the year ended 30th of June 2023, laid on the table of Assembly on 25th of November 2024. The floor is open for debate. Mover of the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I once again request members to pass this motion. Thank you.
I now put the question that is assembled of the report of Public Accounts Committee, the consideration of the report of the retired general or the Makueni Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority, the year ended 30th of June 2023, laid on the table of Assembly on 25th of November 2024. Will as many as of our opinion say aye. Will as many as of our contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I direct that the resolution of the Account Assembly on the report of Public Accounts Committee directed to the Sand Conservation and Utilization Act, Managing Director, for the attention of the board. Take note of that. For the attention of the board. 2, or copy to the chair of the board. 2, the County Executive Committee member responsible for Sand Conservation and Utilization Authority, the Deputy Governor, the Governor, and the County Executive Committee member for Finance, the Senator from Makueni, and the Clerk for the Senate. Attention, Public Accounts Committee, Senate. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. The report of the Committee on Infrastructure, Transport, Public Works, Housing and Energy on the oversight on county roads.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following motion, that this Assembly adopts the report of the Committee on Infrastructure, Transport, Public Works, Housing and Energy on the oversight on county roads laid on the table of the Assembly on 25th September 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, the County Assembly oversights the County Executive pursuant to Article 185 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, read together with Section 8 of the County Governments Act 2012. The County Assembly Committee on Infrastructure, Transport, Public Works, Housing and Energy oversights the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Public Works, Housing and Energy on all matters outlined in the 4th Schedule Part 2 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and executes its mandate in accordance with the Makueni County Assembly Standing Order 217, Part 5. Section 166 of the Public Finance Management Act 2022 provides for the preparation of quarterly reports by every county entity. Further, Section 166, Part 4 states that not later than 1 month after end of each quarter, the county treasury shall consolidate the quarterly reports and submit them to the county assembly. The fourth quarter report was tabled on the county assembly on 6th August 2024 and committed to the sectorial committee. The Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Public Works, Housing and Energy expenditure report indicated that it had expended Kenya shillings 564,616,139.39 shillings in the financial year 2023-2024, which translates to an absorption rate of 77% against a budget of Kenya shillings 730,698,958 shillings. The full year expenditure comprised personal emoluments 7%, operations and maintenance 14%, and development 79%. The department spent Kenya shillings 443,550,916.75 on development activity against a budget of 570,628,703 shillings, translating to 78% absorption rate in the financial year. Further, the report indicated that out of 124 projects, 12 had not started, while 25 projects